Morning, guys. How we doing? It is Friday. Someone's gonna say it's Friday and we start celebrating about it. Well, maybe some of us anyway, but the rest of us are still trying to get through the day. And too many things happening in politics that I probably skipped out on. Well, here we go again. Weaver John, so you gotta identify myself. It is the 14th of August, 2020. And it's almost 3:30. Actually, it's almost 3:40. Oh, there is too much happening in the world today. A few days ago, Trump, I didn't say the proper terminology or the proper title, and I just call him Trump because to me he is. But apparently, he seems to be very happy brokering a deal, if he actually did broker the deal. Actually, he claims his son has. That Israel had a peace treaty with the Emirate Arabs, United Arab Emirates. I want to get that right one of these 3 days. But Israel had, give me 1 second. Give me 1 second. Sorry about that. I had to get that tongue twister out. It's the United Arab Emirates. My apologies. I'm an ignorant savage of the West, as it looks like. I'll move my hair. But I'm not taking it lightly at this point over here because I know it's a hell of a lot of insults out there, and I don't need to do the insults. I'm just not used to saying it because it's not part of the American language all the time. It's not part of the American lexicon for us to keep talking like that in the regular language because this is high-level politics, and the normal, regular layman has problems enough dealing with what's going on right now. And anything regarding peace treaties between countries goes over the head unless, of course, it's going to be directly affecting us one way or another. I remember back in the 70s, late 70s, Jimmy Carter had invited Anwar Sadat and Menachem Begin to get a peace treaty going between Egypt and Israel. And during that time, President Carter, Jimmy Carter, was not the most popular president, but he did broker a deal that nobody thought possible. And within a week or two, he comes out with a hammered deal. But shortly after, both leaders, Sadat and Begin, got assassinated by their own people. They hammer out a peace treaty between their countries, and yet extremists in their countries decide to take them out because they wanted the war to continue. They wanted that anger and hatred to go on. Which makes me wonder about the lifestyle we're living right now as it is. It makes me wonder about that because we've got too much anger and hatred towards a hell of a lot of people, and it's been fostered. We are putting a lot of blame on a lot of things and a lot of issues and a lot of people who've given us cause and reason. And the thing of it is, their blame and the anger is out of us, individually and collectively. We still carry the scars and the weight that we've inherited from generations previous. We have carried over that anger, distrust, and hatred of skin color, of ideas, of politics. God knows what else we've got going on. That's caused a hell of a lot of a lot of division and derision at this point over here. And that we keep looking at each other saying we're better than the other schmuck. And it doesn't have to be that way. But it is that way. People keep trying to fight the racism going on, and it's hard. And the racism is inside of each of us. We just don't want to admit it or accept it. We just don't want to get rid of it. It's like an old thick blanket or an old thick coat that has gotten too damn itchy. And yet so damn comfortable and so damn familiar. We just don't want to get rid of it. Eventually we got to recycle our clothing. That we've outgrown it, we've outworn it. We got to get rid of it. We got to let somebody else have it. The problem is, there are values that we've got that we're passing off to the next generation. In this situation, we can't recycle it. We got to get rid of it somehow. And it's hard to deal with. Speaking of which, when we have leaders of a country that theoretically still believes in democracy and voting, when leaders have to threaten others by almost scaring the hell out of people regarding voting by mail, and saying the other party is vilified because they have to be vilified. They have to be destroyed. They have to be demons. We cannot have demons. They love demons. They don't love God. They're not Christians. When they're showing up that they are devout Christians and they're trying to do the best they can, it doesn't matter because they've got to be vilified. They've got to be demonized. They have to be created as villains, because that's the only way we're going to be able to get through our life at this point over here, is by treating everybody and everything like villains. We have to treat each other like villains because we've got nothing else better to do. We have us versus them. We have on one side of a Democratic Party 2 members running for the president and vice president. On the other side, we've got so much screwed up people in there that they're threatening a lot of institutions that we've had since we've had the country going, because they want to do it in the name of democracy, and they're not doing it in the name of democracy, because they're now doing it in the name of the almighty buck. The almighty dollar works. And it doesn't matter. If they can scare the hell out of people. If they can scare the hell out of people at this point over here not voting, that means the incumbent gets back in and everything else gets worse. So fear and terror must be the only way for the incumbent to do it. Destroy the newcomers. And you know what? That really shows how weak their positions are. Because if they keep showing that instead of their accomplishments and trying to tell people what their accomplishments, but they don't want to do the accomplishments at this point over here. They want to show how great they are and how vilified the other person is by showing them that they're demons, they don't believe in God, they're ungodly, they're unworthy. And when you start attacking a person's ethnicity, like it happened 4 years ago, 8 years ago, 16, it's just idiotic. We had a president coming in. We had, at one time in the Democratic Party, a man and a woman fighting it out. A white woman and a black man. And in the primary, The woman almost came to the window party, but she didn't. The black man did. But there was a lot of insulting on this guy, claiming that he wasn't a pure American. He was a born American. We have to see his birth certificate. We have to know he's legitimate. From the same big mouth who we've got running the country for the past nearly 4 years under a thumb of authoritarianism. Under a regime, Republicans get the money, and they're happy with it. The corporations that support them are happy with it. The poor people get screwed over. They get promised they're going to get health care, and they get screwed over. We're going to have a civil war. We're eventually going to have a civil war at this point. If we can't get our parties together, we can't get our act together, we can't get civility going on at this point over here, we are going to have a civil war. I mean, with any kind of regime change like that, it's going to happen. Now look at Venezuela. Theoretically, they had a constitution. Theoretically, they had an elected president. And also you have elitism going on. And that's a scary damn thing. The elitism. What you see in the shadows of that being reflected on the glass, right over there. I'm keeping track of CNN this morning. Can't sleep still. Such things weigh on my mind, and I don't sleep very well. It gets to me that when I'm seeing elected leaders who are supposed to be putting our faith and trust in these flawed human beings, they're supposed to technically lead us and basically guide us. Hardly these days. More like the whip and chain at this point over here. Believe or else. Here comes the fear. We're going to tell you what to believe. We're going to tell you how to fear. We're going to tell you who's to blame for your miserable existence while we laugh our asses off. We dine on pheasant under glass. We have Marie Antoinette resurrected saying, "Let them have cake." Back in the French Revolution. France had supported the United States during its revolution, and they made a deal with the United States, which we screwed up. We should have helped out France, but we didn't like the way France was doing things, and we said, fuck them. Basically. And France didn't forgive us after that. But every other kind of incident, we've helped them out. Sometimes for the good and sometimes for the screwed up. When France had its own revolution, they wanted to be like the American Revolution, except they wanted it differently. And we couldn't deal with it. We didn't want to deal with their way. Their way was the quick, easy, slappy, bloody mess. Off with their heads. Arrest everybody who's elite and aristocratic with money. And then the poor people are supposed to be the ones in charge. If you had a small council ruled by one guy with a power man thing going on. Well, unfortunately, that's what I'm looking at right now as it is. I'm not looking at it in a situation where it's Venezuela. I'm looking at the French Revolution at this point. That's a scary damn thing. Venezuela, you got the leadership trying to suck everything else out, and they also depended upon oil revenues, and those revenues got screwed over. The money dried up, the economy collapsed, the food became scarce. Humanitarian aid had a hell of a time trying to get through. maybe through other countries, but the other countries still had a problem with the border guards who are still starving like crazy. And people revolted. They put their own interim president in action, and they're still having issues. There hasn't been any resolution with Venezuela since. But it makes me worried about the United States at this point over here having that kind of issue. Would we go that far? Would our military go against people that far? Would our own law enforcement go against that far, against people? Go against what they've sworn against, the Constitution? Or we're going to be redrafting a Constitution all over again? These are heavy thoughts. These are heavy times we've got right now as it is. And with division and derision going on right now, with people screaming and yelling at each other, it's the hardest damn things to deal with. And I'm trying to see how the current administration is going to be laughing it up and saying that they did this and they did that. And with a historic deal, I'm expecting to crash and burn any time now. Israel versus the United Arab Emirates. These guys haven't been jolly with each other for God knows how long. We're talking Arabs versus Israel. I mean, for millenniums, they've been going after each other. We've had the tribes of Abraham trying to kill each other instead of trying to coexist with each other. 3 tribes of Abraham. If the deal lasts, I'm still expecting the deal to fall through. I'm still expecting there's going to be some extremism going on at this point over here. There's going to be someone to screw up this damn thing. And then the White House will still get the blame because they think they're blameless over everything. They think they're walking on water at this point. And right now they're feeling like they're walking on water, but they're not. I still see danger going up. I still see danger ahead. And maybe I'm pessimistic about the situation here, but maybe I am. I've seen too much. And the one major thing I keep expecting is the United States going to have its own coup. If we don't have fair elections at this point over here, if we're not going to have people who can vote, the White House is working very hard in trying to stop the mail-in, but they want to do their mail-in for them. But for everybody else, they can't have it except for them. That's elitism. And American people won't stand for that. We have a right to do vote by mail. It's a constitutional right, by voting. But I never did say concerning about person or by mail-in. Not written into the Constitution, because at the time we didn't have problems concerning about a voting situation when the United States was formed. People had to travel for miles to get to the nearest polling place. And we didn't have any epidemics running at that point over here destroying the damn colony. At least nothing recorded in the first place. But we have a pandemic going on. And the White House is still treating it as a regular flu epidemic. They have another denier of it, trying to tell people that their way is better. This one guy who's a radiologist has become a medical expert in the White House concerning about immunology, concerning about infectious diseases. He's a certified X-ray reader. He's a diagnostic radiologist. How the hell does he happen to be? How the hell does this guy actually come to be an infectious disease control guy? Does he know anything concerning about the COVID-19? Has he kept up with the studies about this damn thing? I've heard some of his crackpot theories, and the guy's coming from California. He must be crackpot. He's one of my kind. I'm Californian. I'm crackpot, but I'm not that crackpot. We have never had a disease like this happen except for the Spanish flu that kicked our asses across the globe right during World War One. But they didn't publicize it. They didn't even put it on the damn records, but suppressed everything because they didn't want to cause a panic. We actually had the media back then like we got right now. My God, we still would have a panic. Well, now we do. And now we have skepticism. We have people keep talking about herd immunity. From one group of scientists, they're saying immunity doesn't work. You get a whole bunch of people getting infected by the damn thing, and you expect you're going to survive in this damn thing because a whole bunch of people got it, and now they get the antibodies. But they don't know how long the damn antibodies are going to last in their body at this point over here. It's going to be short term, something long term. That's why we have to keep getting injections all the time. We do the same damn thing with the flu and pneumonia bugs because they mutate. So what drives me crazy is when I have the White House trying to develop stories on how to tear people apart left and right. Yeah, Louis Armstrong tried to say, what a wonderful world. If he actually knew what kind of a world we have right now, would he consider it wonderful? I seriously doubt it. Anyway. Comment, like, dislike, you know the drill.